Welcome back. Today we are going to be talking about two of the most popular and widely used cartridges that we have today in America. So this last week I had a buddy come to me asking what would not only a good hunting cartridge be, but a good target cartridge. So what we did is we opened up the reloading manual that I had on hand. It just happened to be this Spear number 15. It came with the reloading press that I have. And we just started kind of flipping through the pages looking for some good cartridges. And one of the ones that he had heard a lot about and was interested in was the 6.5 Creedmoor. The other that really drew his attention that he thought, hey, I've heard a lot about that and it's a really good one, was the 30-06 Springfield. So starting off, the 6.5 Creedmoor was originally introduced by Hornady in the year 2008. They took the 30 TC, or the 30 Thompson Center, and they necked it down to 6.5, and they adjusted the shoulder angles and did a few things like that so that they could make a more efficient cartridge. Now, when it was originally designed, they had in mind a high BC bullet going in controlled velocities, meaning it wasn't going to be a barrel burner and it wasn't going to be super slow. They wanted something kind of in the middle. So they started with 143 grain ELDX, and with that, they're going roughly 2,700 feet per second from factory with their Hunter precision ammo. Now, hand loading this, you can go a little bit faster. With certain powders, you can go 100 to 150 feet per second faster. And that obviously is influenced as well by barrel length, which the 6.5 Creedmoor, when it was originally introduced, used a 24-inch barrel. Okay, the 30-06 was originally designed in the year 1906 by Springfield Armory. It was intended to be a battle rifle cartridge chambered in a 30 caliber round. Now, one thing that I found interesting from the Spear manual is it has this cool fact down here. It says, basically, it was developed so that it was capable of killing a cavalry horse with one shot at 1,000 yards. So we might think of the 30-06 as an old cartridge, something that, isn't super fast, doesn't use super high BC bullets, but from its conception, it was designed to be able to handle longer shots in some of the worst conditions possible. So after the war, World War I, World War II, many people had this rifle left over. And eventually hunters started adopting it because they got used to it in the war times. And now the 30-06 is one of the most historic and long-lived cartridges that we have today. Okay, the difference between these cartridges when we stand them side by side is pretty big. That 30-06 case is a standard length action, and the 6.5 Creedmoor, being a short action, is going to hold less powder. So purely based off of powder capacity, the 30-06, because it holds more powder, will be able to push bullets faster. So what does that mean? First, it means that you'll deliver more energy downrange. And second, you'll be able to push ranges just a touch further because not only will you have the energy, but you'll have that velocity to accommodate that energy. But one thing about these little 6.5 bullets is that they're going to have a higher BC in the same grain weights. So what that means is the 6.5 Creedmoor doesn't necessarily have to shoot the heaviest bullets to maintain that velocity. What it is going to lack is the energy because the bullets are lighter. Now, the biggest difference for me is this right here. Let's take a look at those diameters. That 308 bullet looks huge next to that 6.5. So what does that mean? Well, when we're shooting things, especially like elk, we talk about caliber and a half expansion. So that 308 is going to be massive as it expands compared to that 6.5. So for things like elk and even mule deer, that 30 caliber bullet is going to give you a huge advantage over that 6.5. Now, will the 6.5 do it? Yes. As we looked at those ballistics, we know that it has enough energy and it has enough velocity to expand within normal hunting ranges, but the 30-06 just has more. It has more energy, it has a touch more velocity, and therefore, in this case, I would have to go with the 30-06 for things like elk and sometimes mule deer. But for the most part, if you're hunting within normal ranges and you're hunting within, your capabilities and being able to hit the target, they'll both do the job. Now, for younger hunters that are a little recoil sensitive, the 6.5 Creedmoor does give you the advantage of less recoil, but the trade-off there is the energy and the range at which you can comfortably take the elk. So next time you're thinking about getting a cartridge, I would say both of these are good options. However, if you're hunting elk, the 6.5 Creedmoor is going to be a little light. Okay, here are the different bullets and the one factory option in ammo that we are going to be comparing. So for the 6.5 Creedmoor, we have the 120 grain Nosler ballistic tip, the 142 grain AccuBond long range, also by Nosler, and then the 143 grain ELDX Precision Hunter ammo. Now, for the Precision Hunter ammo, it's 2,700 feet per second for the box velocity, and then the muzzle velocities for the 120 grain and the 142 grain are kind of an aggregate average between a few different reloading manuals and things that we have access to. So then the 30-06 has 165 grain, 190 grain ABLR, and then 178 grain Precision Hunter ammo. For the Precision Hunter ammo, we have a box muzzle velocity of 2,750 feet per second. And then for the two other bullets, it's kind of the same idea. We looked at a bunch of loading data, kind of found the average velocity that we're going to find between all the manuals. So ideally what we're going to see is that we're going to compare the bullets to bullets that are as similar as we could find. So the 120 grain Nosler ballistic tip and the 165 grain Nosler ballistic tip should be fairly similar looking at the BC and the sectional densities. Same thing for the 190 and 142. And then the two Precision Hunter ammos. Those were some of the closer ammos that we could find that would provide a factory idea and a fairly common ammo and a fairly common brand, as well as those other two bullets. One is going to be one of your more bonded hunting bullets, and then we have just your traditional cup and core bullet. So hopefully between the three different options we can get a good comparison and get an idea as to how the two rounds compare. Now go ahead and pause the video here if you'd like to look over all this data, but the biggest takeaway from all of this is that the heavier bullets in the 30-06 are going to have more energy downrange. Now that's just a given because it is a heavier projectile moving at roughly the same velocity as the lighter projectiles of the 6.5 Creedmoor. Now in the next couple bits here, we'll take a look at some charts and some graphs that just kind of simplify this data. And this graph here just kind of demonstrates that fact of the energies. So we can see those top three lines are the 30-06 and the bottom three lines are the 6.5 Creedmoor. So even out to almost 1,000 yards, the 30-06 has more energy between all three of these bullets. Now the velocities, they're a little more mixed together, but as we look at that 2,000 feet per second line and come out to 500 yards, all of the bullets are right at it or just above it. So realistically, they'll all expand within normal hunting ranges.